Yes, good afternoon. My name is Matt Gardy. I'm the Director of Systems Information at the Office of the State Attorney. Prior to that, I was in IT at both the Public Defender's Office and the Naval Air Station, and also my wife and I have run a small business down in Wall Street, a successful small business, and have employed Floridians here in Monroe County. The reason I'm running is because I don't believe that many of the elected officials or state agency administrators are really drawing attention to the severe financial crisis that is approaching our state. And neither is the media. And that's why it's essential that during the course of this campaign, please tune in and pay attention to the specific ideas, solutions and ideas I have to address the fiscal crisis that's approaching our state. And again, my name is Matt Gardy, and I'm running for state representative. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Morgan McPherson. Florida needs a bold plan, and I need you. Bold. B, bringing. O, obtaining. L, leadership. D, determination. B, bringing. Bringing experience instantly from Key West to Tallahassee, from Key West to Washington. I understand what we need. O, obtaining. Obtaining funds. Our projects needs funds. In the last 18 months of my tenure as mayor, over $18 million were brought into our district. L, leadership. Leading educational reformation. The importance of our future determines where we go. And we need educational reformation all the way around. And D, determination. We need to be determined that no matter what, that we make our mark. That we move this economy forward. That we use the resources that are in our hand. That we cut taxes. And that we bring Florida into the 21st century. Thank you, Morgan McPherson, August 24th.
Big crowd here, so I'll stand up. I'm Ron Saunders. I have the honor of currently representing you in the Florida Legislature. As you all know, we're going through some tough times. Not just in the Keys, not just in Tallahassee, but the whole country. Next year, we're looking at the state budget at a $6 billion deficit. That's with a B, $6 billion. And as you all know, that affects our education system, our healthcare system. It affects all the offices that provide services here in the Keys. So it's very important, I think, we have someone in Tallahassee that fight for us. If I'm re-elected, I'll be the only former budget chairman in the entire House. Because of term limits, a lot of people are leaving the House of Representatives. And I think having someone with experience in Tallahassee is very important for us in the Keys. Whether it's fighting to keep our property insurance down for himself, keeping our property taxes down, all these things are very important to us. I think it's very important to have someone in Tallahassee that understands the system and knows how to work there and get things done for you. Please remember Ron Saunders, not until November, but please remember in the November ballot. Thank you. Yeah.
Start with that.
We'll begin with Ron and then Morgan and Matt. In the private sector, we generally don't pay people who no longer work for us. That's not the case in the public sector, where it's estimated that nationwide public sector retirement benefits representing $7 trillion unfunded liability. That's trillion with a T. What reforms, if any, would you support in the state of Florida's retirement system?
Well, I think our retirement system has been working relatively well. We have one of the better retirement funds in the whole country. One problem I did have this session, there was actually a bill that would have changed the pension benefits for retired teachers and firefighters and policemen, and I think that's wrong. I think if you've worked all your life in public office as a policeman or a firefighter or teacher, you expect a certain retirement benefits, you deserve those benefits. So I certainly would not want to change anything that's been promised to people that are currently working for our state or local governments. As far as the fund itself, we've had some problems in the investments. I think we need to tighten up the investments that the fund has been making. They were buying apartment buildings in New York City, for example, that went bust. So I do think we need to tighten up that fund because that fund is a promise. That promise is the people that are working in the system now, that when you retire, you will get certain benefits. And I want to make sure that fund is protected so that when you do retire, you get the benefits you were promised. So those are the reforms I would look at. Would be to tighten up the investments they're making, make sure they're more transparent, and that they're in the best interest of the retirees that are going to benefit from that retirement fund.
Can I just stop you for a second, because I think Mark and I just decided we're going to give you a minute and a half. You were right at it.
This year, we unusually performed the highest and the best that we have in 5 years. The year before that, we were $27 billion down. Ultimately, I disagree with with Ron. I think that just like any other budget that's out there, any other pension that's out there, if you lose money, then it has to be adjusted with everybody that's involved into it and integrated into it. So I think that we need to look at how we can balance it so that we don't pull from other funds, from other sources. I do believe that everybody's worked hard, but at the same time, those in the public sector have worked hard too, and when they lost, they lost. Ultimately, everything's changing, and we need to change with it, and it's not incumbent upon us to ask the taxpayers to be mules for those that would need or be short in reference to their pension or their funding. So I think that we need to look at full reformation in it, saying that whatever we can afford is what we can afford, adjust it accordingly all the way around, no indifference, and that make sure that we do look towards a more conservative pension as far as investing techniques.
Thank you, Morgan. We're talking about also the unfunded pension liabilities here in the state of Florida, and Ron, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's about $15 billion right now, is that correct? Unfunded pension liabilities as it stands. It does change dramatically, and part of that is they're expecting, they try to plan ahead for something like an 8% return. And then when they don't start achieving it, they've quickly got to do what Ron had mentioned, is start trying to find ways to invest that might create better returns for them. That's exactly the mismanagement in the state that I'm talking about, and it goes right back down to our budget. People have heard me talk about on this campaign, capping state salaries at $100,000. I don't think it's unrealistic. I think it's a reasonable salary that we can have talented state administrators for $100,000. It's the bloated salaries that historically have occurred, that people have gotten to drop and pumped up their last 5 years' salaries so that they can enjoy these outrageous benefits. And so we can't really do much about that now, but we can do a lot going forward with the existing staff that we have as a state. We also, as a state, have a tremendous number of state employees, and for some of my suggestions of consolidating state agencies, we have to start reducing the number of employees, because that is the burden in and of itself our state is facing right now. You really start trying to crunch the numbers, there's like one state employee for every 10 Floridians out there. That's just a burden, retirement or not, that we can't afford in the state of Florida right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Don, next question.
The governor first recently called a special session of the legislature to discuss and to deal with offshore oil. It got nowhere. Beginning with you, Mr. Gardy, how would you have voted had you been in the legislature? Would this issue have been dealt with, and how would you deal with it?
This is a multifaceted question. The short answer to me is I would have voted to put the amendment, I would have gone there to the special session, I would have voted to let the people speak and put that amendment on the ballot. I may not have supported that amendment, and the reasons are many, very faceted. First of all, we should not be using our state constitution as a way to legislate. We have statutes for that. And this is a perfect example of political gamesmanship that did nothing except waste taxpayer dollars. One of my suggestions, again, if you go to my website, mattgardy.com, you'll see that I've also talked about decentralizing the state legislature. And one of the programs there is keeping legislators in their home district and using telecommuting to do the business of the legislature. Because those legislators, when they get corralled up in Tallahassee, are nothing other than pawns of special interests. They're corralled up there and they're sitting ducks. It's shooting fish in a barrel. I'm saying keep them in their home district. That suggestion would have helped out on this special session. We wouldn't have wasted tax dollars to get everybody up in Tallahassee simply to adjourn. But anyways, so again, it's a tough question to answer simplistically because I don't think we should have been using the Constitution to really what is already on the books in the legislature, but I would have let the people speak.
I think the statute holds up fine. I think that we shouldn't jump, that we should wade through it. I think that ultimately what's most important at this particular time is that we deal with the parameters that were set in reference to the cleanup, making sure that BP is totally held accountable and that it's held accountable in an open way, and no caps on what they have to expend in reference to the cleanup. I think that all of us would agree that energy independence is paramount. With drilling that's happening right now in Cuba, as well as elsewhere, we don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There was over 750 regulations that were broken and shouldn't have been even in place, or that should have been in place that would have stopped the oil spill, and it's happening. And I think that it's preventable. I think that we need to look at it in the long term and understand whatever the potential is in reference to new income coming into our state. So that's my position.
Well, I think this is one issue where I am different from my opponents. I was at the special session. I was very disappointed that we did not take up the amendment. I thought we were up there, we could have given people a chance to vote for it. So I would have voted to put it on the ballot, and once it was on the ballot, I would have voted for it. And the reason why I think it's important to put in the Constitution is statute is not good enough. Just 2 years ago, House Bill 1219 passed the State House 70 to 43. I was one of the 43 votes no, but the State House voted for a bill that would allow drilling within 3 miles of our coastline. At the time, nobody thought that was a big deal. Just this last session, the state of Florida paid $200,000 for a study. And that study came out 1 week before the Deepwater Horizon. And that study that you paid $200,000 for, it said the chances of a spill having any impact in the state of Florida are remote. Just 1 week later, we saw a spill that happened off the shores of Louisiana, impacted the whole state of Florida, it impacted the Gulf Coast environmentally, but impacted all of us here economically. So I think the chances of having a spill, no matter how remote they may be, are not worth it. I do not want any drilling anywhere near state waters, and I would have voted on the ballot, I would have voted for that amendment to ban permanently any drilling in offshore waters in the state of Florida.
I just wanted to clarify one of my positions. I said I wouldn't have supported the amendment because of the constitutionality, using the Constitution as a legislature. The offshore drilling is a different question, and I think the fear that you have, because suggesting that the statute could quickly change, is exactly the reason that our state legislature is controlled by big money and interest, and it's the oil companies that can push something through by owning the legislature. Eliminating the influence of special interest on the legislature would make our statutes stand more effectively.
Ron, would you like to comment, and Morgan, would you like to comment since we've given Matt an opportunity to respond?
No, I think ultimately, like I said, I think it's very important that we look for energy independence, that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think that anybody can get a cheering section to say no drilling, and I think it would be irresponsible to my children. Abby, Gabby, and not too shabby. We need to make sure that ultimately that we're there for them and that the energy is there for them.